Now, it's been exactly 1 month since the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, fled the country after a student-led mass uprising toppled her government. The country's health ministry said more than 1,000 people died in the police-led violence that erupted during those protests. Many were young people. DW has spoken to one family whose son was among those killed. One note, younger viewers may find some images in our next report distressing.
22-year-old Mohammed Deen was planning to pursue his higher education. But his future and plans ended on August 5th. Deen's family say he was shot dead by Bangladesh security forces during anti-government protests. For them, the loss of a son and brother is unbearable. Deen's father says his son was shot 5 times. Now all he wants is justice for his son.
I want to appeal to this government to punish the murderers, as well as the autocratic government and the autocratic leader Sheikh Hasina. The former Home Minister Asad Usman Khan must face justice. The senior police officers used the police force to murder my son. I want all of them to be punished. I want to see the people responsible for the murder of my son be punished while I'm alive in this world.
This is where Shah Alam found his son's body. Deen was here in the Jatrabari district, taking part in one of the last anti-government protests. Just hours before Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled the country, law enforcement agencies started firing at the demonstrators. Deen was one of 30 dead bodies that hospital officials say they received that day. Deen's father can't afford a lawyer, but he says that won't stop him seeking justice. At the Supreme Court in Dhaka, he meets the Assistant Attorney General, who agrees to pursue the case. 1 month on from the violent protests that led to the ousting of Sheikh Hasina, the interim government has promised justice will be served to all affected families. For families like Mohammed Deen's, that justice can't come soon enough.
Joining me for more is Sarah Hussain. She's a senior advocate at the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. Welcome to DW, Ms. Hussain. How likely would you say it is that the relatives of those allegedly killed by police will get justice?
I'm hopeful that they'll get justice, but I think it's a challenging and difficult process, and the path to justice is filled with many obstacles for those like the person we just saw on camera. I think it's important also to realize that, justice means not just justice and accountability for perpetrators, but also finding out the truth of what happened and why it happened, why these mass killings took place in this very short period of time of so many young people and others, and also getting reparations for the victims, like the family of those who've been killed, like those who survived. There are thousands of young people with bullet injuries, with pellets all over their bodies, many of them psychologically deeply affected, many of them permanently disabled, many of them blinded. So it's a very thorny path to how we get justice for all of these atrocities which have happened over such a short period of time. But I think that it will be possible, but there are many preconditions for that to happen.
What are these preconditions? And you also talked about obstacles. If you could sort of elaborate on that.
I mean, I think as you just showed in the clip we saw, the person who was the father who was seeking justice for his son's killing found that he couldn't afford a lawyer. There is a government legal aid machinery. Historically, the government legal aid machinery has not assisted people who have faced repression by the state. This could be a moment to change that. I volunteer with a legal aid organization, as do many other lawyers. None of these legal aid organizations have yet been asked to sort of support and coordinate the process. Some of us are stepping forward to do that, as we saw the Assistant Attorney General who was shown has also stepped forward to assist that father. But there's no coordinated process for that. There needs to be some kind of central process led by the government indicating how these cases are to be, how victims, whether they're their bereaved families or whether they're individuals who have been, arrested, detained, injured, and so on, how they will seek justice. Otherwise, they're being left to their own devices, running from police stations to courts to file their claims. And they really do need legal and expert assistance with that process.
And how much of a priority is accountability for the interim government?
They've said it's a high priority. Professor Yunus himself has said that at the outset in his sort of opening speech to the people after he took office. And I think what we have seen from the interim government is they have made some important steps forward in terms of dealing with the reparations piece. So the health ministry of the government, for example, has announced that it will ensure healthcare, free healthcare from both public and private hospitals for all of those who were injured. As I said, many thousands who were injured in these protests by being fired upon by live bullets, rubber bullets, and so on. So that process has been announced. It's being coordinated with non-governmental organizations, with individuals, even private sector. I believe the Pharmaceutical Association is donating funds to facilitate this process. So on the reparation side, things have started to happen. There's also been an announcement that a foundation will be set up for the families of those who were killed, for their remembrance, but also for their support for rehabilitation of the families. But on the justice and accountability side, that is the big challenge. And I think, as I said, we need not only central processes for the intake of cases, also protection, and also for investigation. That's the key space. Lack of independent investigations is a real challenge.
We'll leave it there for the moment, but thanks so much for joining us today. Sarah Hussain speaking to us from Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thanks.